Imagine being surrounded by over 10,000 enemy warriors. There are only 21 of you. No reinforcements. No escape. And yet, surrender is never an option. On September 12, 1897, 21 Sikh soldiers made a decision that would earn them a place in military history forever. This is the incredible true story of the Battle of Saragarhi. By the late 19th century, the British Empire ruled much of India. But along the rugged mountains of the northwest frontier, near modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan, British control was constantly challenged by local tribal forces. To protect the frontier, the British built a chain of forts across the Samana Ridge. Two of the most important were Fort Lockhart and Fort Gilliston. Between them stood a small stone outpost called Saragarhi. It wasn't a fortress. It wasn't built to withstand a long siege. Its only purpose was communication. Using a heliograph, a device that reflected sunlight in Morse code, Saragarhi relayed messages between the two forts. If it fell, the forts would lose contact with each other. Defending the outpost were just 21 soldiers from the 36th Sikh Regiment, led by Havildar Ishar Singh. For weeks, tensions along the frontier had been rising. Thousands of Afridi and Oryxide tribal fighters had gathered in the surrounding mountains. The British knew an attack was coming. They just didn't know where. At sunrise on September 12, the answer appeared. From the hills, thousands of armed warriors began moving toward Saragarhi. Within minutes, the tiny outpost was completely surrounded. Historical accounts estimate the attacking force numbered between 10,000 and 12,000 men. The defenders didn't panic. They loaded their rifles, checked the walls, and prepared for a battle they knew they could never win. Before the fighting began, the attackers made one final offer. Surrender. Leave the outpost alive. Havildar Ishar Singh listened, then calmly refused. The mission wasn't to survive. It was to hold the position for as long as possible, giving the nearby forts time to prepare. Moments later, the valley erupted with war cries. Thousands of warriors charged toward the stone walls. The Battle of Saragarhi had begun. The first wave crashed against the walls. The Sikh soldiers held their fire until the attackers came within range. Then, they opened fire. The mountain valley echoed with rifle shots. The first assault was stopped almost immediately. Dozens of attackers fell before reaching the walls. But there was one problem. For every warrior who fell, many more took his place. Again and again, waves of tribal fighters charged the outpost. Again and again, the defenders pushed them back. Inside Saragarhi, no one wasted ammunition. Every shot had to count. Meanwhile, Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, the outpost's heliograph operator, continued sending messages to Fort Lockhart. Each flash of sunlight carried another update. The enemy is attacking in great numbers. We are still holding. Miles away, British officers watched through telescopes as the battle unfolded. They wanted to send reinforcements. But it was impossible. Any rescue force would have been overwhelmed long before reaching the outpost. The 21 defenders were completely alone. Realizing that direct assaults were failing, the attackers changed tactics. Using smoke and the uneven terrain for cover, small groups moved closer to the walls. Soon, the sound of cracking stone echoed through the outpost. A section of the wall had been breached. The battle instantly changed. It was no longer fought across open ground. Now it was fought inside the walls. Room by room. Step by step. The defenders fell back, forming new positions wherever they could. At the center of the fighting stood Havildar Ishar Singh. Rather than retreat, he led the defense wherever the pressure was greatest. His men continued fighting despite being surrounded on all sides. Every minute they resisted gave Fort Lockhart and Fort Gulistan more time to prepare. That was the mission. And they refused to abandon it. Hours had passed. The outpost was burning. Smoke filled the air. The walls had collapsed. One by one, the defenders fell. But none surrendered. Among the last men still alive was Sepoy Gurmukh Singh. Until that moment, he had remained at the heliograph, sending updates throughout the battle. His messages allowed the officers at Fort Lockhart to follow the defenders' final stand almost in real time. When the situation became hopeless, Gurmukh Singh asked for permission to leave the signaling station and join the fight. Permission was granted. He sent one final message. Then picked up his rifle. The heliograph fell silent. No more signals would leave Saragarhi. Historical accounts agree that Gurmukh Singh continued fighting until he was killed. Exactly how many attackers he brought down remains uncertain. What is certain is that he never surrendered. Elsewhere, Havildar Ishar Singh and the remaining defenders fought until the very end. By the time the battle was over, every one of the 21 Sikh soldiers had been killed. Saragarhi had fallen. But the attackers had paid a heavy price. More importantly, they had been delayed for hours. That delay allowed nearby British positions to strengthen their defences before the fighting reached them. The defenders had completed their mission. News of the battle quickly spread across British India. Military leaders were stunned that 21 soldiers had resisted an army hundreds of times their size for so long. To honour their courage, every defender was posthumously awarded the Indian Order of Merit, the highest gallantry award then available to Indian soldiers. More than a century later, the Battle of Saragarhi is still remembered as one of history's greatest last stands. Not because 21 men defeated an army. They didn't. They lost the battle. But they proved that courage is not measured by victory. It is measured by the willingness to stand your ground. Even when you know the outcome. 21 soldiers. One isolated outpost. And a story that refuses to be forgotten. This was the Battle of Saragarhi.